Yo, 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 what up? This is LA Icon. You are watching the Food Community YouTube channel. And today, this is a little different. This is not the normal Food Community podcast. As you guys have been seeing, we have been introducing new shows to the channel. And today, I'm very proud to announce that we have Alex Enamorado, the street vendor activist. And we look forward to hosting him here at the Food Community. You know what I'm saying? Moving forward, hopefully forever. But yeah, so the purpose of this segment, as you guys know, is to bring more awareness to street vendors and their daily issues and things like that. And who better to bring forth that light onto the community of the fools than the main fool himself that does it, my boy. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Perfect, my dog.
It's
What
an
is
honor.
let's just get right into it. What would you say is your goal with what you do? That we when we see you outside on these crazy IG videos, what's your goal?
When I first started, my only goal, and I still keep it in my mind till this day, is to prevent a death. Our raza has been under attack. Street vendor attacks have spiked 300% in the past 10 years. It's out of control. So with our security team that we send out, and we go out there with them as well, with their PPO licenses and,
That's
and,
right.
and their guns, is to mainly that. We don't want to have another death. Last year, tragically, we had a street vendor that was gunned down in front of his 7-year-old daughter, and that hit home. So, knock on wood, so far this year, it's been over a year. We haven't had a street vendor death in LA County due to a robbery. So, we want to keep it that way. And now the other thing, we have expanded with a bunch of other stuff, like having a team of immigration attorneys, civil attorneys, being able to help them out with their permits. This year so far, we've had 3 street vendors open their first brick and mortars. And that's also another angle. We started a nonprofit this year in March with my friend Christian Contreras, who's our attorney. It's a national 501c3 organization called UVA, Union of Vendors Association. And we are basically, our goal is to provide them with legal services at no charge. Till this day, we have never charged any vendor for any of our services, and we will keep it that way forever. Also, is for them to have their brick and mortar. I want to be able to show stories like, hey, we gave Doña Liliana, we're gonna surprise her with her first brick and mortar, first 3 months paid off. Being able to give her that chance to be somewhere where she's always wanted to be. The majority of these vendors, they don't want to be out there, but they're trying to make a living. A lot of them don't have job permits, so that's their only resort. So that's the tip of the iceberg of what we want for as an end goal.
That's amazing, brother.
Thanks, man.
Like literally, that's crazy. Where do you, if you don't mind me asking, where do you get the funding to be able to do these wonderful things that you're able to do for the community?
You know, it's a lot of it has been out of pocket till this day. It's a lot of it's been out of pocket. I don't like to ask for donations. Recently, we did a raffle, for some NFL tickets, and also we do accept some donations online. We do have like a Venmo where you can donate. It goes towards gas, but it's still coming out of pocket. There's a lot of expenditures. Especially us driving everywhere. We go everywhere. We've been up and down the state. We just came back from Oakland. We've been to San Francisco, Stockton. We've even been to New York to help out street vendors. So, but so far, like I mentioned, what we want to do is I didn't want to start a nonprofit either. I didn't want to be able to like profit because I have my own job. I work from home. I manage political campaigns. As some of you who have been following me for a long time know that I've worked for Bernie Sanders and other candidates. But I want to be able to actually be able to get this money that other nonprofits have been receiving. We noticed that there's other nonprofits that supposedly help vendors that have been receiving millions and they do not help out. What they do with that money, they spend it on salaries, staff salaries. They're making $190,000 a year and nothing goes towards the vendors. They make vendors become volunteers. They make the vendors do the work. Meanwhile, they're receiving all the salary. And not once have I ever seen any of these nonprofits show that, we've helped so-and-so open up a brick and mortar. So that's what we want to do. And, coming from the hood too, what I'm saying? Like, I think a lot of these people are known to commit fraud and spend money that is supposed to go to the hood because they haven't got that out of their system or whatever it means when it comes to, stealing or whatever it is. I've got that out of my system as a young kid in the hood. I'm a convicted felon. I like to go by the book. I've been a city commissioner for over 5 years. I've managed nonprofits. I've been always transparent with the money. Never had any sort of case with taxpayer money. So that's what I want to do. I want to be 100% transparent with this money, and you will see these success stories for these vendors, and that's what we want.
I'm not mad at it. You want to talk to me a little bit about you just mentioned you guys are you're doing your best to get people in their own brick and mortars, which is amazing. But also you're just mentioning to me that off camera that you guys are also giving away push carts.
Yeah, through my friends at Revolution Carts, Richard, who has designed tamale carts. We've given out a few already. We just recently gave one to a vendor here in Pomona.
That's right.
Her name's Liliana, so she has her own cart, and it's amazing. It comes with everything, with all the permits. And once they have their permits, a lot of doors open. Like, for example, Eduardo, another victim that we helped out, and he has his cart. He's able to sell at universities. He's able to sell at like community events. And also another one, Juan, who was attacked in San Pedro. Now he's legally selling contracted outside of Home Depot. So
Sick.
people coming in and out, they're able to buy tamales legally. He has his cart. I mean, everything is good. So that's basically what we have. Right now, we're going to roll out another giveaway. So thanks to Richard and Matt from the National Food Trucks Association, we're going to be able to give out some more food carts. And hopefully one day we can bring one here and so everyone can see it.
No, yeah, we absolutely look forward to having that shit parked right there with your bullhorn on top
Hell
of
yeah.
it as your own personal set. You know what I'm saying?
That'd be dope.
I know we already interviewed you here and we know you've done interviews other places, but just for the people that are not familiar, how did you actually get started in your activism with for the street vendors and whatnot?
Well, I was already an activist since 2010. So in 2018, my dad, he's not a street vendor, but he's a mechanic, and he's actually a mobile mechanic. So he's the same, man. He's cut from the same cloth. He's a hard worker, humble. He's the type to just go to work and go home and spend a good time with my mom. And what happened to him in 2018, he was carjacked at gunpoint. He didn't tell me right away because he knows how I am. I've had to find out 2 days later. And that shit got me pissed off. And then after that is when I started seeing the spike of attacks on street vendors. So I guess I resonated, right? It just triggered me because of what had just happened to my dad. So in 2020, there was a vendor who got beat up. I seen him on social media, and he had a big black eye. And I went to visit him. I talked to him. Someone a random stranger created a GoFundMe for him. And that person vanished. Like 2 weeks later, disappeared. Took off with like $6,000. So ever since then, we have basically became first responders for street vendors. When there's an attack, we try to be the first ones there, and we teach them how to create a GoFundMe, and we make sure that only they have the password. So there's not even no room for allegations against me. So that's basically how it all started off. It all started off with helping that vendor in 2020, and now it rolled out to basically everything we do now. We do community buyouts. We're also in meetings with city council, the LA Board of Supervisors, changing laws, and now here we are.
I respect it. How hard is it exactly for the permits to be gotten by the vendors?
So, for example, if you have a taco stand, there's no chance. You cannot. There's no permits for that. A lot of people.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So it doesn't exist. When I sat down with the director of the Department of Public Health, her name is Lisa Frias, I asked her what's the issue here? Why can't you give them permits? Is it because of insurance purposes? Like if someone gets sick, you think the city's gonna get sued? She's like, no. Only if it's under a city event they can get a permit. But I told her, what is it? Is it insurance purposes? She goes, no, I don't know. It's just state law. The director of the Department of Public Health told me I don't know. And I even have that on video, but I can't release it because it was just an internal meeting. But that pissed me off, So the people that are driving by and they think, how come they don't get their permits and pay taxes? They want to. They just don't have $75,000 to open up a restaurant. So that's a huge obstacle for a taco stand. Now, if you're an elotero, you have to have an industrial kitchen. And it's super expensive. You have to have a commissary. And right now, a commissary that was housing over 300 vendors in South LA, La Palma, shut down. And right now we're helping those vendors scramble because now they don't have a home. Now they don't know where they can get that. So right now those vendors, for example, they don't have a permit right now because they don't have a commissary. And I took one of them to the Department of Public Health to get a permit, and they told her, well, it'll come in 3 months when you find a new one, but between now and then, you can't sell. And if you get caught selling, those permits are going to be 3 times the price. They're going to triple. So it's a lot, man. Even for me that someone like me that knows English, I have a hard time going to the Department of Public Health and understanding all the requirements that they have. Even flower vendors have a bunch of requirements, like you can't sell near any other store. You can't sell near an intersection that's busy. You basically can get a permit to sell nowhere, like somewhere where there's no foot traffic. So even there's flower vendors that have their permits, but if they go towards the intersection where they know that there's foot traffic, they still get ticketed. So that's a huge obstacle. So right now, what we're trying to do, man, we're trying to change the law in the state of Arizona and in the county of Riverside. You can use your home as your kitchen, where the Department of Public Health can come once a year, inspect your home kitchen, and then you're good. Bam, you're good. You can sell whatever you cook from there, whether it's elotes, whether it's whatever it is. And we want to have that here in LA County. So we're changing that. It's called MICO, the Micro Enterprise Home Kitchen. So that's what we're trying to do. We go to these boring ass meetings at the LA County Board of Supervisors that last 7 hours, And sometimes I see those organizations that I tell you about that supposedly help vendors. They send the volunteers, street vendors, to sit there for 7 hours. Meanwhile, the executives are making $150,000 sitting in their office not doing shit. So that's what we're trying to change. Well, we go out there ourselves. We don't make the vendors go out there, and we sit in those boring meetings. But we're trying to get it done. We're trying to change the course where it could be a little easier for them. But right now, it's fucking hard.
Why are cops so easily able to harass the street vendors?
Power trip, man, because they're not even supposed to. First of all, they can't even tell them that they can't sell at a certain space. This new law, SB 972 that passed last year, specifically says that they can't red zone any area. So the cops, they're on the power trip. They basically, they don't even know the law. Like, there's videos that have gone viral when I walk up to them. I walk up to cops. I walk up to the Department of Public Health who are dumping the food, and I make them leave because it's crazy how, like, for example, if you're a doctor, you have to keep going back to school every year or every 6 years to learn the new foundings or whatever it is. But cops, they just get 6 months training. They get thrown in the field for 20 years, and that's it. They don't have to go back to school and learn the new laws. They don't. And it's basically power trip, man. And we've seen a lot of cases where they end up beating up the vendors too. We have videos and threats and it sucks that I have to intervene, man. I have to call their watch commander, call their supervisor, like, hey, what is your deputy doing? What is your what are they doing? And they end up apologizing to me, and then they just tell them to back off. So it's basically a power trip, and it's a lack of knowledge, a lack of knowing the laws. And like I mentioned, there was one viral video that went out, the one that can stand out, that where I'm walking up, actually in the city of Montclair on Mission. I walked up to them, and in Spanish we have the saying, se fueron con la cola entre las patas. They went out. It was embarrassing for them. You know what I'm saying? Like, so as long as the vendors, if you're on the sidewalk, as long as you have 3 feet of space where people can walk, nobody can tell you to leave. Can the Department of Public Health come and dump your food? Yes, but that's the worst they can do. Other than that, they can't tell you to leave. Once they dump your food that they can see, you can put your food back and keep selling. So
That's intense.
Yeah.
Talk to me about some recent issues you faced with people harassing street vendors.
Damn. It's gotten out of hand. It's gotten crazy. Like, for example, there was a situation in Pomona. The security, I've been getting a lot of calls that he was harassing vendors, and they got to the point where he put hands on a female vendor and her son. So we went out there. We ended up confronting him, and what pissed me off, that he took out a little pepper gun, man, a little pepper spray gun, and he pointed it at my girl. So I went into the car. I matched his energy because we're also armed, so I wanted to match his energy. So I took out a pepper ball gun. It's a Berna. It's a gun that shoots pepper balls that'll leave you a big bruise and it'll explode on you and you can't breathe or see. So I took that on him, and as we're like on a standoff, Pomona PD rolls up and points gun at us, throws us to the floor. I get detained. They arrest my girl for an old warrant that she had, so they took her to jail. They detained him, but I don't know, they let him go too. So then we ended up going to the station. We protested outside for her release. So she got released like in, I would say, 30 minutes. And then after that, so we went back to the plaza, and this was still there, the security. And as we're rolling up, he rolls up in his car, pepper sprays me with that gun in my face, bro. And then he takes off. Comes back again. And like I like to say, someone that looks like me followed him into the store, man, and then got into a fight. You know what I'm saying? So all I know is that that person that looked like me had no scratches. I mean, no, had a scratches, no blood, though. No leaking or nothing like that. But he was leaking. They had to scrub the blood off the floor. The manager told me that. So, I mean, it's just, it got out of hand. You know, we don't like to resort to violence unless that person, you know, legally, if someone puts their hands on me, it's going to go down. But,
or someone that looks like you.
Or someone that looks like me. So it's happened in San Diego too. We posted that video too. In San Diego, there was this white guy who was bothering these vendors, these lady vendors, and he ended up putting his hands on me, and that was me. And then we ended up getting in a scuffle, and he ends up calling the cops. The guy who put his hands on me after we get in the fight, and my homie had to step in too. He calls the cops, and when the cops come, they end up arresting him because he's the one that threw hands first. So don't call the cops after you try to do some stupid shit, you know. So that's pretty much that's pretty much what's been going on, man. Like one thing is this: we've kind of, thanks to like social media and thanks to people like Danish, to a good friend of mine who has taught me like how to investigate and how to find people. When there's someone that attacks a street vendor, it's only a matter of time when we find out who you are, and especially if that person works for a high-end company or has a position of power, or they have a business, which is even worse. We will find you, and either you get, so far in the month of, this summer has been crazy. This summer we probably gotten, I would say, more than 10 for sure, but I would say 15 people fired from their jobs. You know, a lot of security guards, there was a guy who worked for a high-end company too, David Ledger, he got fired. And that's basically the consequences that, you know, right now the cops, if the cops don't give you a consequence, which is probably just a cite and release, we'll give you that consequences. We'll make sure that if, you know, what you do on your, whether it's on your free time or not, what you do on your free time and you're attacking street vendors, you're a representation of a company. You know, recently there was a manager of a company that was antagonizing street vendors, telling them that she was going to call immigration. She got fired because she represents her company. You know, everyone sees what's going on with Julio Urias. You know, what he did was outside, was not in a baseball field. But the Dodgers are giving him crazy consequences too. So that's basically what we've been doing. And thanks to the people, thanks to the community that has been coming together, you know, it's been a success.
Looking forward, what are some things we could hope to see here on this show that you're going to have on the Food Community YouTube channel? Definitely.
So we're gonna have street vendor victims here tell their story. You know, a lot of the times you see our faces, but to the vendors that feel comfortable in talking and they want to say their story, man, because we've heard some crazy stories from vendors. Like, they go through a lot of shit. A lot of these vendors, they get robbed and they don't call the cops. Number one, because when cops come, most of the times they don't do shit and they ticket the vendors. So you'll hear that, you know, and also the stories of them, you know, whether it's crossing the borders to get here or just all the abuse that they have to go through. Also vendors that have their permits and how hard it is to still maintain that permit. Stuff like that. We'll also have people that advocate for vendors, who are passing laws, or people like that are creating these cards and stuff like that. But most importantly, the vendors and their story, something that, you know, we don't really get to see every day.
That's right. Yeah. Well, we look forward to seeing some of these fine people here, these hardworking people. And again, we highly appreciate you popping out right here on the channel, my boy. And I believe we said Saturday are the days that your episode is going to come out. Saturday around 11 a.m. every Perfect. Saturday. So all you guys look forward to that. Set your reminders, your notifications, all that shit. Is there anything you want to leave the people with before we clock out, my brother?
For sure, man. Support the street vendors. and think twice before attacking them, because you will be part of the show.
That's what it is, baby. I don't know what are we calling this?
I don't know.
Show.
Think about it. As Street Vendor Podcast? No, SVP.
Spencer, sick fucking.
Protect Street Vendors.
All right.
Protect Street Vendors Podcast. Yeah.
Well, this is what it is. We're wrapping it up here today on the Protect the Street Vendors podcast. We highly appreciate everyone tuning in. Look for new episodes every Saturday. You know what it is, baby. LA Icon. I'm out.